All right, let's get started. So thank you everyone for being here tonight to our heat pump buyer's guide webinar on Wednesday, October 25th. My name is Justin Bates. I work for Abode Energy Management. I'm incredibly excited to be here. I love talking heat pumps. Um, We'll be happy you all could join us on this Wednesday night. We are, like I said, incredibly excited to be working with the Wakefield Municipal Gas and Light Department to electrify your home's heating and cooling systems, right? I want to thank the whole WMGLD team for their partnership. They are wonderful partners, and we are proud to be a part of this program, right? And bringing you this presentation tonight. You'll hear from Joe Collins, energy specialist, a little bit later on. Um, but let's dive in, right? So, like I said, today we'll be talking about heat pumps. We will cover the technology. We'll be talking about the application in your home. So, right, what systems look like. We'll be talking about the generous rebates to electrify your home that Wakefield Municipal Gas and Light Department offer. We'll actually dive into the rebate process itself, right? Kind of clarifying the process, making sure that you feel comfortable going through it. Um, we'll suggest some different ideas, some thoughts and questions to bring to your installer, and we'll also have time for a Q&A at the end there, right? Um, I think this is a good opportunity to highlight the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen there. You can type in any and all questions on heat pumps in the program, right? We'll have some time at the end to answer some of those. And I said it once, but I'll say it again. The more technical and nuanced, um, almost like tech project specific questions, uh, I do think they will be much better answered by our heat pump specialists. Right, through WMGLD, you have access to no-cost consultations with Abode's heat pump specialists who have decades of HVAC experience and will be able to answer any and all questions that you might have. Um, right, we'll do our best to answer any and all questions tonight, but feel good that we have that resource, that consultation to fall back on for anything that might not be answered or anything that's specific to your own home, your own kind of process. I will identify the fall is incredibly busy for our heating and cooling upgrades. So if you're looking to the winter to install, looking to the end of the fall, I would recommend scheduling a consultation today. I'll drop the link in the chat. We'll have it up on the screen in a little bit. Um, but let's dive in here. Actually, Joe, do you want to introduce yourself real quick? Apologies for that.
Sure, no problem at all. I'm Joe Collins from Wakefield Gas and Light. I'm business analyst of energy services, and we're very excited to have Justin here from Abode Energy Management to kind of go through heat pumps, how they work, and all those things. I think Justin gave a great full description, so I'll just say we're excited to have you, Justin, and go off to the races.
That's all I needed there. Right. So let's take a step back, right? We'll talk about what heat pumps are in a second, but I really like to start with the benefits because it starts it on a kind of a rosy footing. Heat pumps have gained a lot of recognition in just the last few years, especially. We're seeing enormous gains in efficiency, enormous gains in configuration within the home. We'll talk about different kind of ways that you can almost incorporate different aesthetics into the installation of these heat pumps. Um, but at the core of a heat pump, very highly efficient electric alternative to both your home's heating and cooling needs, right? Contrary to the actual name of the system, they provide both heating and cooling. And I always like to put the efficiency in the context of what we are familiar with, right? Most of our homes either have boilers or they have furnaces currently. Right. So what does a heat pump kind of look like in relationship to those? So most modern boilers are over 90% efficient. So that means for every 1 unit of power consumed, they'll produce just under 1 unit of heating power. So it's not exactly a one for one. They are losing energy in some form, kind of the process of combustion there. Furnaces, right? Most furnaces fall in the range of about 85 to 95% efficient, right? So it's going to average out to about 90%. So again, they're losing energy, but heat pumps are different, right? I like to look at two of the most popular models on the marketplace today from different manufacturers. At 47 degrees Fahrenheit, which is a rated temperature, they are 410 and 610% efficient, right? That's a huge difference. And that's where you start to see some of those savings on the operational side, that return on investment. Um, no, right? Heat pumps don't always maintain such high COPs, coefficients of performances, they're called. They are always going to be above that one, right? They're just more efficient in nature. Heat pumps also improve indoor air quality, right? We're not burning fossil fuels, so there's no byproduct. And actually, today's systems capture airborne contaminants. They actually act as kind of a filtration system, dust, smoke, particulates, airborne particulates. So not only are you improving energy efficiency, but you're also improving the health of your home and its occupants. Um, they can also be less expensive than traditional fossil fuel systems to run, right? Especially oil and propane. They're about on par with natural gas, slightly above, slightly below, kind of depending on your rate. But um, the added benefit, right? Homeowners who install air source heat pumps also get cooling. So it's that heating and that cooling. And a heat pump will actually realize about 30, well, you can expect to save with a heat pump about 30 to 50% on cooling costs as compared to a standard central air conditioning system. Even more if you're comparing it to window AC. So, um, right, when we're thinking about the investment into a heat pump, you can think about, right, removing oil, removing propane completely from your home, removing that cost. Your electric bill will go up, but standardized over an entire year, you are going to again realize those savings when you're comparing both the heating and the cooling costs there. And the final benefit that we'll touch on, right, when powered by renewable energy, their environmental benefits are even greater. So pairing it with a clean power supply, it just ups the kind of environmental impact, the environmental benefits of it all. So right, that's the benefits of heat pump, but let's look at the actual technology themselves, and we see three different indoor units on our screen, right? A floor-mounted unit, a wall-hung, and a ceiling cassette. And we're going to actually go through the two main forms of setups, right? Both ductless on this slide here, but also ducted um, in the next slide. Um, and maybe I'll even take a step back and just provide some quick background, right? An air source heat pump, it runs on electricity, right? It powers a compressor. It transfers heat using the same idea actually behind a refrigerator, right? Or even an AC, if that helps, right? In winter, it transfers heat indoors, as weird as that sounds. Any temperature above, excuse me, absolute zero will have energy, will have heat. So in the winter, right, it's transferring heat indoors. In the summer, it's transferring that heat outdoors, right? And it's cooling your home that way. Um, Typically, you'll see an outdoor condenser that looks something maybe like a central AC block that are outside a lot of people's homes. Or it's what we call like a rectangle on stilts there. And those two, whether it be that kind of rectangle or that central AC looking unit, it's connected to either an air handler that's typically located in either an attic or a basement. Sometimes it's in a storage room, or it can be connected to what are called, again, these mini splits. So, starting with the wall hung unit on the top right there, um, these are probably the most popular, at least the most recognizable type of indoor unit. This can be easily hung on exterior walls, right? So any walls that are kind of um, like directly touching outside air on the other side. And sometimes they can be hung on interior walls, right? Depending on the situation. That's something your installer will be able to kind of help you out with there. You can also get a floor mount unit, right? This looks like almost like a radiator of what we're familiar with. Um, at least where the orientation is, the size of it, the shape of it, these are becoming increasingly popular. They're a great alternative to the wall hung unit. Some people prefer the aesthetic, right? I mentioned that earlier, the aesthetic of the floor mounted unit versus the wall hung, which brings us into that last one, right? A ceiling cassette. Um, and these are incredibly practical, right? These are actually just mounted straight into your ceiling, and kind of framed between the joists running in your ceiling, right? This was actually previously an issue in terms of fitting between the joists for some of the ceiling cassettes. But today's models, today's systems fit very well. And I think that actually highlights the ever evolving kind of nature of heat pumps, right? We are adapting these technologies to our homes and making sure that they fit within the kind of framework that we would like to see in a system like this. Um, and I know it's not on the screen right here, but we have been seeing a few picture frame indoor units, and it's exactly what it sounds like, right? It's a picture frame that has a vent at the bottom, right? That's blowing out that air. And you can display whether it's your kid's artwork, whether it's your favorite painting, maybe a photo. Yeah, these manufacturers are getting incredibly creative with how we are applying these into people's homes. So, right, that was a few examples of ductless indoor units. But now let's get to ducted indoor units, right? And we get this question a lot. What if I do have a central AC, right? How would a heat pump, I guess even can a heat pump utilize my existing ducts, right? And these systems absolutely can, right? They will distribute hot and cool air using your existing ductwork, right? But there are considerations that go into this decision, right? You want to be able to test your ducts. You want to seal them if necessary to prevent leakage. You want to, there's different ways to do that. You can blow an aerosol in. You can actually go to the ducts and seal it off, right? But that is kind of designed to maintain that high efficiency nature of a heat pump. Um, but today's contractors, today's installers, especially contractors on our participating contractor list, which we'll talk about in a little bit, are absolutely able to discuss your unique home characteristics and how heat pumps fit into both the current design of your home and then that proposed design of your home, right? So going back to these ducted indoor units, we have two types on the screen here, right? Compact ducted and centrally ducted. So contact ducted units are usually more what I would call to be zonal based. Um, so these are kind of satisfying a few rooms, maybe one floor or a wing of a house. Usually we say about 2 to 4 rooms served by a smaller air handler. Whereas those centrally ducted units, right in the bottom left-hand corner there, those are larger air handlers, which allows kind of greater distribution of hot and cool air throughout the existing ductwork or the ductwork. Right, that ductwork is connected to vents throughout the entirety of the house in a centrally ducted system. Um, and if not the entirety of the house, a much larger area. We're talking like 4 to 5 plus rooms here, even more than that, depending on the tonnage of the condenser outside, right? So those are ductless and ducted indoor units, right? That's what the heat pumps will look like inside your home. And I always like to kind of take this moment before we move on to talk about heat pumps in cold climates like Massachusetts, right? Um, Maybe you've heard it, maybe you think it. Um, do heat pumps actually heat my home at low temperatures, right? We saw a cold snap 2 winters ago. That made a lot of people nervous. Hey, would if I installed a heat pump, would it be able to keep me and my family warm? Um, and based on now years of data, we can absolutely say that if an installer is designing and selecting and sizing the right equipment, these high efficiency cold climate air source heat pumps can and will provide 100% of that home's heating and cooling needs, right? We can be completely clear about that, dispel any myths. Um, right? they can and they will uh, keep up your home's heating load at low temperatures. Today's systems are actually designed down to 5 degrees, down to the negative degrees, right? All the way down to like -15. We see some units with -22. These are cold climate heat pumps that are designed for New England climates, even like Canadian climates. Um, so I got to say, if a Canadian can rely on it, if folks in kind of northern Maine rely on heat pumps, then I feel very confident, and we can look at the data and continue to feel confident that these units have the enhanced heating capacity in cold weather and can be left running under all outdoor conditions. It's a question we get a lot, and I'd be happy to answer any other questions that come up later on. I'll take just a quick moment to identify the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. If you do have any questions, feel free to throw them in there. Um, so the next three slides are really Wakefield specific, and I'll take the first two, but then I'll pass it off to Joe for a little bit more nuanced conversation, right? Um, and I'll start off with a recommendation we always lead with, the boat always leads with. Weatherize your home, right? Tighten it up. If you install air sealing, install insulation, your home's heating load is actually going to decrease, which means you won't need as large of a heat pump. And if you don't need as large of a heat pump, you don't have to pay as much, right? A bigger system costs more than a smaller system. So it is really in our interests to tighten up our homes before installing these heat pumps here, or at least install a heat pump with the idea in mind that you will be tightening your home, right? And again, Joe will talk about this in a little bit, but WMGLD does offer an optional, I'll highlight that, no cost comprehensive energy assessment to all residential customers, right? A professional energy advisor will conduct a thorough analysis of your home. They'll offer some tips on appliance usage. They'll talk about weatherization measures that can be installed in the home. But again, I'll highlight the optional nature of that, right? Participants are under no obligation to proceed with suggested measures. So back to heat pumps. Um, Not only do we recommend to weatherize your home, but we absolutely recommend we should get at least 3 quotes for your heat pump project. Um, right? We see quotes ranging from the highest to lowest proposal. The average delta is $8,000, but we see much greater ranges too. Um, and much different, like very different configurations in the home, different systems suggested. So we really recommend going out and engaging with as many installers as you can. And once you've engaged with installers and once you've received proposals, this is when you can take advantage of the no cost quote comparison report through the WMGLD relationship, right? Um, this tool is designed to be able to compare side by side up to 3 quotes, the cost per ton. So really, like, what are you getting for, like, what size system are you getting for how much money you are spending? It talks about the heating and cooling impact. So it actually kind of creates a model based on historical fuel usage of your home, and it relays to you in pretty simplistic terms. Will your kind of heating bill go up? Will your cooling bill go up? It talks about sizing. So it shows you is the proposed heat pump kind of in the appropriate range based on your historical fuel usage. Um, and it also talks about a switchover temperature, which is a really important part of uh, considering a heat pump, right? When at least this will be included in your no-cost consultation that can be kind of added on to the end of the quote comparison report tool. And you can talk about, all right, how is my system actually going to run in real conditions? And like I said, you can compare up to 3 proposals, and that'll be cost effectiveness, impact on heating and cooling, environmental benefits, among other points there. So once you're comfortable with a design, Once you have signed off on the contract, selected that installer, right, and completed the installation, then you are ready to apply for WMGLD's rebates for eligible systems. I will say that there are program requirements, including a qualified product list. Is a neat cold climate air source heat pump list. So all systems to remain eligible for the rebates must be NEEP listed. Contractors must file for the relevant electrical permits. They must submit an install QA form. Um, but again, this can all be found at the website link that we'll show in a little bit, right? So we're seeing in front of us here, and again, Joe will go into this in a little bit more detail. Um, Ducted and ductless heat pumps, you will earn $500 per ton up to $2,000, right? And there are some kind of bonus rebates and incentives in there. If you install insulation and air sealing, you can get 50% of your project rebated up to $1,500. If you install Energy Star windows, right, $50 each up to $500. So it really speaks to the idea that if you are making this large financial investment in heat pumps, then why not kind of approach the whole home aspect of it and really tighten up your entire home. And at this point, I'll throw it to Joe for Wakefield Municipal Gas and Light Department's kind of specific rebate process and things you should be aware of.
Sure. Thanks, Justin. So as Justin kind of went through kind of the rebate process, kind of some of the rebates that we offer, the amounts and kind of the tools that we offer, and then Abode offers. The first step in the process is to basically try to best understand if is a heat pump right for you, kind of arm yourself with knowledge using our website, which then links to the Abode website to kind of go through those tools as Justin was alluding to. So once you get to that point and you feel comfortable with it, the next step would be to find a contractor and make sure, but also they should make sure that they're familiar with that qualifying heat pump list, that NEEP list, which is the link for that is right there. So that the equipment must be on that list to be considered for a rebate. That's a very important piece there. Prior to submitting a rebate form online, customers they have to have their contractor complete a post-installation QA form. So this ensures that the equipment that was installed is not only correctly installed, but it's on the list and it's qualified. Abode will review these documents and then they'll kind of submit to us their recommendation. Yes, this does fit the mold for the rebate, and then we'll process it from there. And it'll take the normal period for rebates, probably about 4 to 6 weeks once we kind of process that application, as long as you've submitted all the necessary documents that are within that form. So those are the mandatory steps that go along. The mandatory steps are you have to contact Abode for that post-installation QA form, and you have to fill out that it has to be on that list, the list of qualifying equipment. And then you have to fill out the rebate form, and you must fill out the rebate form after you've done the prior steps. So optional but recommended steps are a highly recommended step is to also try to do insulation upgrades within your home alongside the heat pumps. They get the biggest bang for their buck when you combine the two together to create a very high efficiency, a lot of savings on your bill. So we offer free home energy audits through Next Zero, and we recommend that you do this prior to installation so that you can see what you should upgrade in your home to get the best efficiency with your heat pump. So then an additional recommended step is to actually do a pre-approval from Abode before contractor installation. So this would link up your contractor with Abode, and to make sure, dotting your I's, crossing your T's, making sure the system looks like it's sized properly, if it's, if there's different zones to see if it's best equipped for your home. But again, that's an optional step. So you can take it from here, Justin.
Yeah. And Joe, I think you like highlight the fact that like through every part of the journey here, it was designed in kind of the customer's best intention, right? The NEAT list is of equipment that is rated in cold weather, right? The free home energy audit through Next Zero, right? That is designed to give you a better idea of how you can tighten your home, how you can make it more energy efficient. The pre-approval is, like you said, just that extra kind of like a dotting the I's, crossing the T's there. Um, and I will just take a moment. If there are any questions, please feel free to reach out to Abode. Um, Obviously, you all know where to find the Wakefield team there. Um, but we are absolutely happy to answer any and all questions and really help you guide through the process of this rebate here. And I'll take kind of just a breath on this slide, recognizing that we've covered a good amount and what I think a half hour here. Um, had maybe me spinning a little bit, but if you want to navigate to the Abode and WMGLD website, you will see the rebate requirements laid out. You will see the opportunity to schedule a no-cost consultation with a heat pump specialist, an opportunity to submit a co-comparison to receive that report, right? Everything that you need to know about the heat pump rebate process is on that website there, and as well as our contact information, so we can answer any no questions. Um, so again, that's abode.energy/WMGLD. So we're almost to the FAQ section here, but I promise some tips and tricks of working with installers. So I'll go through these quick here, right? The first one, requesting a manual J or load calculation. Always request a manual J or load calculation, right? This is how your installer is going to measure your home's heating and cooling loads and determine the correct size of your system. They input values on doors, windows, insulation, uh, walls, basements, size of your rooms, orientation of the sun, a lot of variables that affect how a system will perform in your home, um, specifically to your home, right? And again, these are incredibly important to ensuring your long-term comfort with a well-designed and well-performing system. Number two here, right? Consider upgrading your electrical panel. Not all heat pump installs will require or necessitate an upgraded electrical panel. Like most homes can fully electrify on that existing 100 amp panel with just some simple planning up front, without actually sacrificing any of the benefits of electrification. Um, this is something you should have a conversation with your installer. But if you can't avoid that panel upgrade, you can save thousands of dollars in months of time, right? So make sure you're having that conversation with your HVAC installer there. Reviewing the location of the system, right, and its different components. It's important to know that your outdoor units, um, like where it will be, right, and where the associated piping will be located. Right? Sometimes outdoor units can be loud, they can cause vibrations. You might not want to put it on your bedroom wall, right? Some people actually fasten a almost a platform either on the foundation or the wall, and they place the heat pump on top of it. Like I said, some put it on a concrete pad on stilts, others use a concrete pad and kind of that central AC box-like unit there. Um, but it's important to be conscientious about both aesthetic of the piping and the actual unit itself. Um, I do like to recall I had a neighbor as a kid, right? They're one of the first people in my neighborhood to install a central AC system. Um, I was definitely late for installing a central AC system. I'm not sure what took our neighborhood so long. Um, but you could hear that thing turning on from a mile away as it really revved up and um, heat pumps are not like that, right? But there again, like are some noises associated, maybe some vibration. So just keep that in mind as you're talking with your installer. And then the fourth one, right? 'Confirm that your installer will support you throughout this rebate process. If you use a participating contractor, this contractor in that participating contractor list can be found at that abode.energy/WMGLD. They will have a good understanding of the Wakefield program, of what's the requirements, of what's available to you. Um, Abode's expectations, Wakefield's expectations of their assistance, of their work, the quality. Um, but again, just kind of have that conversation up front so you aren't surprised by anything as you are going through the process here. So we are in the Q&A section. These are three questions we get a lot. I'll answer them and I'll turn it over to our Q&A. I'm sharing my screen, so I can't see if we have any questions yet, but right, quickly covering it, set it and leave it. Um, Common question, like it's also it's a completely new way to approach heating and cooling, right? Heat pumps are designed to set a temperature on your wall and just leave it, right? Because that's where you get that high efficiency nature as it just continues to run in the background. We like to use the analogy, right? Um, to get from place A to place B using a highway, you're not going to get off at every off ramp and then on at every on ramp and then off and then on, right? You're going to just want to throw on cruise control and cruise. And that's exactly what heat pumps want to do. Set it and leave it. Set the cruise control and leave it, right? Um, the next one, right? Do I need a backup system? I talked about this a little bit. I referenced it at least. Heat pumps can do and will provide 100% of your home's heating loads, right, to low temperatures. Now, if you want to keep an existing system, redundancy is okay if that's what makes you feel comfortable. But um, whole home heat pump installs are on the rise because they do work. Um, and then the last one, right? Heat pump solutions for pre-existing ductwork. We talked about that. They absolutely can use the existing ductwork in your home um, and do a good job of it with some kind of prior planning, making sure that you are evaluating the ductwork, weatherizing, excuse me, making sure that you are there's no leakage. Again, you can spray an aerosol in there. You can actually do kind of like some source upgrades. But you can absolutely use your existing ductwork with a ducted, either compact or centrally ducted system. So I covered a little bit. Here are the links to all of our different pages. Again, please contact us at WMGLD at abodem.com with any and all questions. But I'll stop my share now. Um, I'll go back to our Zoom room over here and I'll answer any questions in the chat over here. And Joe, maybe we can tag team it if there's anything that is kind of Wakefield specific there.
Yeah, for sure.
Brilliant. So the first question we got is this a quiet unit, right? And that's a great question. And again, like you want to consider the noise, the vibrations of that outdoor condenser, but manufacturers are beholden to a certain decibel level, um, right, when that unit is running. Um, Now, again, it's your choice and your installer's kind of based on your installer's recommendation where that outdoor unit can go. But these are not loud units. These are not things that will keep you awake at night. Um, so we'll answer that one. Um, Next question. It's asking about Abode and our kind of relationship with um, Wakefield. Joe, can I throw it to you?
Yeah, I can answer that one. So we hire Abode as a heat pump consultant. They help us, they help our customers through this whole process, and we've had a great standing relationship. I think going on at least 3 years now, and they've helped probably I'm pretty sure it's over 150 customers. It might even be over two. It might even be over 200 at this point, and nothing but great things to say about the process and how Abode helps our customers through it. They've had, like Justin said, they have decades of experience, and it is money well spent.
Appreciate that, Joe. It's truthfully a team of nerds, right? that really love heat pumps and want people to kind of realize the both comfort and the costs and the environmental benefits. Um, so appreciate that, Joe. We had a question. Can you partially involve heat pumps while retaining existing heating systems, right? So the question is specifically, like, can you use heat pumps to heat 2 or 3 rooms in a home? Absolutely. Um, right. So there's a few different ways you can go about this, right? So we see a lot of compact ducted units, right? So throwing a smaller air handler and covering a few different rooms, again, zonal based, but keeping that pre-existing heating system, right? That'll again lower the amount of time that your pre-existing system has to be running, um, while again realizing the kind of benefits of running a high efficiency heat pump. Another kind of avenue you could pursue is ductless heat pumps, right? We see a lot of application where maybe in a larger room, whether it be a combined kitchen or dining room, or it's a dining room, living room, throwing a ductless wall unit, or maybe it's a floor mounted unit, and having that system kind of like take on the heating and cooling needs of that particular zone of the home, right? You can do a system with one condenser, one indoor unit, and like several tons. I would say probably, I don't want to give false information here, but probably like above 2 tons. So covering a lot of space, a lot of your home's heating load. And again, that is involving both a new heat pump and that pre-existing heating system there. So we have another question here. They are rolling in. Let's see. Give it just a quick read over. Yeah. So it's the question is their oil um, kind of company said that their existing system can last about 5 more years, right? Um, is it likely that heat pump technology and rebates are likely to be better a few years from now? Should I consider making a transition now? This is like an incredibly important question, and there's a few different approaches. So, and Joe might be able to speak to the kind of continuing nature of rebates, but like, rebates aren't guaranteed over the long term, right? The money that is here now might not be here 2 years, 3 years, 5 years from now, right? Um, but it's also, I think, really important that we realize a lot of the time when people are switching from a pre-existing system to a new system, whether it be fossil fuels or heat pumps, they're doing so out of emergency, right? This is like maybe their boiler has failed or their furnace has failed. And all of a sudden they're kind of scrambling. Oh my God, I don't know what to do. I want to install a heat pump, but it takes time. It takes kind of planning. And it's just easier to install another furnace or another boiler, right? Maybe that's what your oil company is comfortable with. So maybe you don't install heat pumps tomorrow, but you start to think about it, right? You can have a no cost consultation. You can start to get some quotes and figure out kind of what systems might look like in your home, right? So that when that time does come that you are needing to switch over or even wanting to switch over, then you are ready and kind of prepared with everything there. Joe, maybe I'll toss it to you for a few thoughts if you have them.
Yeah, for sure. As far as the rebates go, I think we're constantly looking at the rebates, trying to be competitive with the surrounding area. And one big move that we're going to make, I think, in the near future is we may open up additional funding for a move from fossil fuels. If you completely replace your fossil fuel system with a whole home heat pump, that's a very real possibility, and it is on the horizon. So what I would say is that might be something where, especially if your system could go for a little bit longer, is maybe keep an eye out for future updates to the programs, because we are constantly looking at the rebate structure and trying to move towards those 2050 net zero goals, electrification, and all those things. So that's what I would say about that.
Mm, Yeah, brilliant. And I'll move on to the next one here. It's a cost versus minimum operating temperatures, right? So um, I would say this is a really good usage of the co-comparison tool, right? It'll show you, again, it normalizes different proposed systems at 5 degrees, so a very low temperature. And it tells you like what the actual cost of the system is at these low temperatures. Um, but cost versus minimum operating temperature, the cost is more dependent on the size of the system, less so on the um, capacity of the system, low temperatures, right? So a 1 ton unit from one manufacturer will obviously cost less, right, than a 3 ton system from another manufacturer, right? 3 tons larger than 1 ton. But the ability of the heat pumps to maintain a steady temperature at a low degree, let's again use 5, if the systems are good and they're sized well, they're going to be able to maintain that kind of minimum operating temperature, if that's the question there, right? So it doesn't really depend. Cost doesn't really factor into the operating temperature, or like what the systems are able to go down to. It's more of like, is it sized well? Is it designed well? Now, some systems are better than others. Um, and that is, again, why we recommend going into the marketplace and getting as many quotes as you can. Because again, you're going to start to see the variety of what installers are recommending. And that's the best way to make a decision is to be almost inundated with information there. So the next question is, oh, this is an interesting one, right? I have had quotes that conflict between a 3 ton and 4 ton system. So we're kind of uh-oh, does my home need a 3 ton system or a 4 ton system to maintain the load? Um, Only one of the three companies did a manual J calculation, right? And this person is going to have a hybrid system with the existing forced hot air. Um, I don't have a specific recommendation. Like this is a great opportunity to have that no cost consultation or even throw the quotes through the co-comparison tool. I will say um, the fact that there are installers are proposing different size, maybe one installer so to define the word switchover temperature. So switchover temperature is kind of this, it's a specific temperature in which if you are having a partial home system or you're keeping a backup heating source, it switches from the heat pump to that heating source, that backup heating source. So maybe the 4 ton system has a lower switchover temperature. Maybe the switchover temperature is like 5 degrees or 0 degrees. In that 3 ton system, maybe it's 15 or 20 degrees. Um, but I would recommend, again, utilizing the quote comparison tool because that'll give you a good understanding of appropriate sizing based on the um, pre-existing kind of fuel usage. So you have oil, so oil usage, and then electricity usage throughout the year. I will say I would most likely defer to the installer that ran that manual J because they'll have a better baseline to base their recommendation off of. Um, but they may have the 3 ton installer versus the 4 ton installer may have different intentions. Like I said, the switch over temperature, whatever it might be. But great question there. Um, I currently generate my hot water as a zone off my oil burner. What's the best way to do hot water with a heat pump system? Um, so we do have kind of heat pump water heaters out on the marketplace today. Um, so heat pump water heaters work almost exactly like how a air source heat pump uh, works, right? You have that outdoor unit, and it's generating power, right, from the outdoor function, and using that power, that energy to heat water in your home. Um, and there's a few different ways that this can look like. So this is hot water. So this might be domestic hot water used for showers or sinks, or maybe you're thinking, all right, can I use like a heat pump to heat water that then moves that water around my like home to heat, right? Some people install radiant flooring where you have warm water moving through piping that warms floors. This is a great way to kind of um, if you are installing a whole home system, some people install whole home systems with radiant floor heating. so that you kind of have those both of those functions, those systems working at the same time to provide a steady temperature. Um, I will say that if your intention, and I would need a little bit more background, and right now I think a no class consultation is a good place for that. If you are imagining using the kind of heat pump to heat water to a high enough temperature that it then moves around your home and provides heating that way, kind of radiant, um, we are on the verge of that technology, but it's not there yet, right? You need water moving through your home around like 175, 180 degrees. Um, and we are so close. There are systems out there that do that. But I would kind of hold off a little bit until we get a little bit more testing, until they're proven a little bit more. And I think that's going to happen very soon. Um, so that if that answers your question, or if it's just you want domestic hot water heated by this heat pump, right, that's absolutely an option out there. So does Wakefield have heat pump water heater rebates or incentives that they could tap into?
Yes, we do. We offer $500 towards heat pump water heaters.
Brilliant. Yeah. And I will say, right, what I always say that we're not a tax professional, but I would recommend checking out the IRA, the IRA incentives, the 25D tax credits, right? There's money swirling around out there. So talk to your installer. They're going to be the best person to answer those types of questions. Um, the person who asked if the unit was quiet, lost connection as I was answering it. My answer is there is some noise, there's some vibrations that it produces, but it's nothing that's going to. Manufacturers are beholden to a certain decibel that they have to remain under while that system is performing. So I would not call them loud. There is a sound, and if you have a friend, a neighbor that's installed it, go check it out. Um, or even actually, you know what, maybe Google it or throw it up on YouTube. How loud is a heat pump? But it's not going to be an obtrusive noise for sure. The last question we have another 10 minutes if anyone has other questions going through, right? Um, we like a chilly room at night. Will we not be able to change temperatures at night with a heat pump? Um, Heat pumps today on the market are smart. Um, so you can program, right? There are different thermostats can be connected to the heat pumps to make to kind of uh, raise or lower temperatures to a certain degree. You can program heat pumps, right, to gradually cool down or gradually increase. You don't want to be turning it off and turning it on, like I said, because that really messes with the efficiency. Um, but you can make them work for your own habits or your own motivations, right? Heat pumps are an incredibly versatile technology, and they are only getting more versatile. And pairing that with maybe a third party thermostat that does a better job of controlling that is absolutely a possibility. And that's again something that your installers as probably um, going to be able to answer and help you out with for sure. And or again, schedule a no cost consultation. Um, there's another question that came in. You mentioned potentially using a heat pump with a forced hot water system. Would that system still be able to be used for AC? Um, the simple answer is maybe. Again, there's new technology entering the marketplace. I am aware of systems that uh, can do that, but I am not confident in their application in today's marketplace. So I would, you know, what, I'm copying that question right there. And when we send that webinar out, maybe I'll send around a little FAQ with questions that stumped me. I love questions that stump, right? It's people thinking these technologies are new here. So I'm gonna go with a hard maybe there, and I'll get back to you. So we have about 8 minutes left. There are no open questions. Uh, Maybe we'll give it a few more, but I want to again thank the entire team at Wakefield Municipal Gas and Light Department. Like I said at the beginning, they are incredible partners. I want to thank Joe for being here tonight and answering our questions, walking us through the process. Joe, I don't know if you have any words to end the night on.
Yeah, I would just say, thanks, Justin. We really appreciate you, taking the time to walk through kind of heat pump 101 and kind of even going a step further with some of those questions. As always, we appreciate Abode's knowledge and their time. And we appreciate everyone who showed up today to kind of tune in. It as you said right before the whole thing kicked off. Some people probably waiting for the recording to come out to watch it, but we're glad for the people who showed up live today and were able to actually ask some good lively questions that are going to help out a lot of people that come back and watch this. So.
Absolutely right. And I see another question come in. I'll answer that in our kind of dissemination of the webinar. Thank you all for being here. Joe, thank you for being here. Um, and with that, I say we say good night. All right. Have a good night, everybody.
Thanks, Justin.
Bye all.